There are moments in life when nothing dramatic has to happen for you to realize that something has changed. It's just an ordinary morning. The light moves more slowly through the window, and somewhere inside you, a quiet space appears, hard to put into words. The world outside keeps moving the same way it always has, but the way you feel inside is no longer the same. Things that once felt urgent begin to lose their weight. Old questions stop demanding immediate answers. For Libra, this shift arrives through awareness, soft, deep, and just strong enough to make you look back at how you've been living, how you've been giving, and how you've been trying to keep everything in balance. Dear Libra, there are moments in life when it's not the world that changes, but something within you that quietly does. You might notice it gently, though not as a shock, not as a major turning point. Just waking up one morning, looking at familiar surroundings, and realizing they no longer feel the same as before. There comes a phase in life when nothing comes to a full stop, yet everything no longer moves as fast as it once did. Days still follow days. Life continues in familiar patterns, but somewhere inside, you begin to sense time moving at a different rhythm. Morning arrives with the same light, yet the feeling of looking at it has changed. You stand still a little longer by the window. A deep breath shows up without asking for a reason. The outside world sends no warning signals. Everything continues to function in its proper order. The only difference is this: you are no longer being pulled forward at the same speed as before. And things that once demanded immediate reactions no longer carry the same force. A conversation can wait a little longer. A decision no longer needs to be made in that exact moment. You are not avoiding action. You are listening more carefully. In this state, old questions still exist, but they no longer sit at the center. They take a step back, making space for observation. You begin to notice that constant busyness no longer brings the sense of safety it once did. That keeping everything balanced does not have to mean carrying every responsibility alone. For Libra, this realization holds a very personal meaning. You have always lived through consideration, through seeing situations from multiple sides, through maintaining harmony in the space around you, even when it meant stepping back yourself. And then, at a certain point, you realize how much energy you have spent keeping things stable on the outside, without truly pausing to ask what you need on the inside. As the pace of life softens, small details become clearer, a subtle heaviness after familiar conversations, an empty space that appears even when people are still around you. There is nothing wrong with this. It is simply a sign that you are entering a phase of seeing life through a deeper level of awareness. You begin to understand that not every relationship needs to keep its original shape. Not every role must be carried forward just because it feels familiar. And not every expectation needs to be met by the version of you that belongs to the past. This slowing down does not ask you to change everything right away. It only opens a space where you can observe yourself without being driven by habit. There, you start asking deeper questions, not to decide what is right or wrong, but to understand more clearly what still feels aligned with who you are now. What brings a sense of lightness when you think about it? What makes you feel in rhythm with your own life? And what you have been holding on to for too long, simply out of fear of disrupting balance. You don't need to rush into a new direction. You don't need to prove anything. All that's needed is honesty with what you're feeling in this moment. Slowing down does not take away momentum. It refines direction. It doesn't force you to abandon the past. It helps you recognize that the version of yourself you are becoming needs a different way of moving forward. And as that awareness begins to take shape, the choices that follow naturally carry a new quality. No need to perform. No need to explain. Just a quiet sense that you are living closer to your truest self. Not because the world demands change, but because you are clear enough to recognize what still fits and what is ready to be set down. That is the moment when the journey truly begins to move from the inside. Libra has long been spoken of as a symbol of harmony, someone who knows how to listen, who knows how to step into another person's perspective, who can soften tension without ever raising their voice. But there's something rarely said. To keep the space around you calm, you often move yourself first. You're used to taking a step back, used to weighing other people's feelings before checking where your own heart is leaning, used to adjusting your words, your tone, even your personal desires, so everything stays okay. Until one day, A quiet heaviness begins to settle inside. Not anger, not disappointment. Just a subtle kind of exhaustion. The kind that shows up when you realize you've understood everyone else so deeply, yet haven't offered the same compassion to yourself. During this phase, you may notice a shift. You're no longer drawn to conversations that require you to constantly play the role of the mediator. Situations where you once stepped in to smooth things over now give you pause, as if something inside is whispering, "It's time to lean on a different kind of support." This doesn't make you distant. It simply shows that you're reconsidering where you've been standing for too long. This internal adjustment doesn't erase who you are. It realigns your center, like a scale that has worked faithfully for years, now being set back onto level ground. Not because it's broken, but because the environment has changed, and you are no longer the same person you once were. You begin to look directly at things you used to pass by without much thought. That some connections exist largely through endurance, that certain responsibilities are carried out of habit, not because they still fit. At this point, you're not searching for confrontation. You're searching for fairness with yourself. That feeling may bring a moment of uncertainty, because when your inner balance shifts, the entire old reference system trembles slightly. Values that once sat at the top now need to be rearranged. Standards you once took pride in, asked to be viewed through a more mature lens. You haven't lost your gentleness. You simply no longer place it above everything else. From here, the way you see the world slowly changes. You begin to understand that harmony doesn't mean constant self-sacrifice, and peace doesn't require staying silent about what makes you uncomfortable. These reflections aren't here to push you into immediate action. They open a new doorway of awareness where you're allowed to ask yourself, where is the healthy boundary, and what is simply a pattern that's lasted too long? Recentering yourself doesn't make you harder to approach. It makes your presence more genuine. When you're steadier on the inside, the relationships around you begin to reflect more clearly who truly respects you and who is simply accustomed to you always giving way. There's no need to rush to conclusions, just notice. Because sometimes simply seeing that slight imbalance is enough to adjust your step, aim without tearing anything down. And from that quiet adjustment, a deeper awareness gradually unfolds, shaping how you connect, how you show up, and how you choose who remains in your world. Some relationships last for a very long time, not because they are always easy, but because they once fit a certain chapter of life. They don't carry labels of right or wrong. They don't need to be judged. They were simply shaped by a version of you who needed something different than what you need now. As awareness shifts, the way you see the person in front of you shifts as well. Not to scrutinize, not to evaluate, just to understand more clearly where you stand within that connection. You begin to notice that the presence of certain people makes the space around you feel lighter. Conversation flows without effort. Silence doesn't feel uncomfortable. You don't have to measure your words or adjust your emotions before expressing them. At the same time, there are connections that require you to brace yourself. A sentence needs to be rehearsed before it's spoken. A meeting ends leaving you more drained than warmed. No one is doing anything wrong. The rhythm simply no longer matches. At this stage, you're no longer seeking validation from the outside as a measure of your worth. What matters more is how you feel on the inside after spending time with someone. Libra has always been skilled at building bridges, at seeing both sides, at softening sharp edges in communication. But as you move into a deeper level of awareness, a simple question begins to surface. Am I here because of connection or because of habit? That question isn't meant to create distance. It opens a new way of seeing. You don't rush to walk away from anyone. You simply observe. You notice how your body responds. You pay attention to your state of mind before and after each interaction. You sense whether you are being nourished or quietly depleted while trying to keep everything balanced. This kind of observation brings a subtle shift. You stop trying to fill every space with words. You allow silence to exist. And within that space, the truth of the relationship begins to reveal itself. Some connections, when no longer held together by appearances, become more genuine. Some bonds, when no longer supported by constant accommodation, begin to show their limits. None of this demands immediate action. No conclusions are required. No final endings need to be declared. Just awareness. Awareness that you are maturing in the way you love. Awareness that your gentleness no longer means erasing yourself. Awareness that a healthy relationship allows both people to breathe, to be present, without effort or strain. As the light of awareness shifts, small details come into focus. You begin to tell the difference between genuine care and expectation disguised as care, between true listening and silence rooted in avoidance. This clarity doesn't make you rigid, it makes you honest. Honest with yourself about what you need, honest with others about how you show up, and honest in knowing that a relationship doesn't need to be perfect to be meaningful. At this point, you allow connections to exist as they truly are, without pulling them closer, without pushing them away, letting each one reveal its rightful place in your life. When you see clearly, you stop moving on autopilot. You move with awareness, with respect for yourself and for others. This shift in perspective doesn't shrink your world. It makes it more real, less strained, with more room to breathe. And from there, you continue forward in a different state, gentler in your choices, steadier in your presence, and more honest about what you allow to remain. For a long time, your attention has been directed outward, listening to the rhythm of life, responding to emotions, reading the atmosphere around the people in front of you. That's how you show up, subtle, attuned, sensitive enough to notice what hasn't yet been spoken. But along this part of the path, the center of gravity begins to shift. Not to turn away from the world, but to open a different door, one that leads inward. Moments spent alone start to carry a new meaning. In no longer empty space waiting to be filled, no longer something to avoid by keeping your schedule packed. They become a place to reset your breathing, to set emotions where they belong, and to recognize what has already completed its role. When outside noise no longer dominates, very small signals come into focus. The body speaks before the mind has time to analyze. A sense of lightness when you imagine one direction. A quiet heaviness when you picture yourself holding onto an old role. No long explanations needed, just noticing. Stillness isn't an empty void. It's the ground where awareness organizes itself, where thoughts stop competing and make room for intuition to speak in its own way. You realize you don't have to react to every stimulus. An invitation can be considered later. A decision can wait until the feeling becomes clear. From there, you begin to trust that slowing down doesn't mean losing opportunity, but choosing more carefully what truly deserves to stay. In those moments, you observe yourself with a fairer lens. No judgment, no romanticizing, just meeting what's actually present. You start to see which desires are born from habit, and which needs belong to who you are now, which fears keep you bracing yourself, and which boundaries are asking to be honored. Turning inward doesn't pull you away from others. It allows you to show up more fully when connection matters. Because when the inner space settles, you no longer need to borrow energy from the outside to stay balanced. A new kind of confidence begins to form. Not loud, not seeking validation. Just the sense that you're steady enough to stand still in your choices, or even when many voices are calling around you. This way of listening also reshapes how you use words. You speak when it's truly needed. You allow silence to do what it does best. Connect, heal, and deepen conversation. When pauses no longer feel threatening, you notice how much has already been revealing itself. Connections that fit continue to flow. Obligations held together by duty begin to show their shape. No need to cut away. No need to decide, just seeing. In this state, you stop searching everywhere for advice. You begin to trust that the answers you need often appear after you've given yourself enough quiet. That trust doesn't come from theory. It's built through lived experience. Each time you allow yourself to pause, things arrange themselves in a more reasonable way. You understand that inner wisdom isn't loud. It doesn't argue. It offers guidance through sensation, gentle, clear, and consistent. Once you grow familiar with this rhythm, you carry that calm back into daily life. Choices become cleaner, presence feels more complete, and personal boundaries are respected without long explanations. From here, you move forward on a different foundation. Listening before responding, observing before concluding, trusting the felt sense sharpened through stillness. This isn't retreat, it's a return to self-direction, to clarity without display, and to the quiet confidence that you can truly listen to yourself. After just enough quiet moments, awareness no longer arrives as a declaration. It drifts in like late afternoon light, slanting across a windowsill. No knocking, no calling, just staying long enough for you to notice. There are no grand promises, no certain predictions. Only small signs appearing in everyday life felt through a very subtle place inside. You notice you no longer want to fill every space in your schedule. Emptiness begins to mean something else. A slow-moving afternoon, a familiar road taken without hurry, a meeting rescheduled without the weight of guilt. Life's rhythm isn't stretched, it's set back into the right place. In the way you connect, discernment becomes clearer. You're not shrinking your world, you're simply rearranging the doors. Some conversations bring steady energy. Some encounters require more time to recover from. Recognizing that difference doesn't create distance, it creates respect. With your emotions, you begin to be more honest. No exaggeration, no avoidance. Just naming what's present and allowing it to stay long enough to reveal itself. You don't need to be stronger, you need to be clearer. Clear with yourself first. These signals don't demand immediate action. They're like signs far down the road, enough to adjust your steering without making a sharp turn. The fine-tuning happens quietly, yet the direction grows more stable. You begin to understand that slow doesn't mean falling behind. It's how you choose the right rhythm to go the distance. Steps become steadier, breathing grows deeper. Attention settles on what truly nourishes you. Looking back, you realize you don't need a new role to play. You only need to shed what's no longer necessary. This simplicity doesn't erase color. It reveals the true tone, gentle, clear, and lasting. The new year appears as an invitation, not a call to change, not a demand to become someone else. Just a reminder to return closer to your own center. From there, choices no longer feel heavy. Presence brings a sense of enough. You begin to trust that you don't have to keep up with every rhythm. You only need to hold the one that fits. When that rhythm settles, decisions naturally become cleaner, not driven by pressure, not shaped by outside expectations. Small signs continue to appear. In how you respond, in who you give your time to, in what makes you smile without needing a reason. They don't rush you. They simply confirm that you're moving in the right direction for now. At this point, you don't need a grand plan. You need gentle consistency, a self-care practice kept with steadiness, a boundary respected without long explanations, a choice made from feelings that have been carefully filtered. When a new day arrives, you carry that calm into the smallest moments. The way you listen feels fuller. The way you say no feels kind. The way you say yes feels intentional. Nothing has been missed. There is only alignment between your rhythm and your values. Only the sense that you are in the right place at the right time, with enough space to breathe. And so, those gentle signals continue to guide you, not through calling out, but through a clarity that keeps deepening. You step into the new year with lighter baggage, steadier footing, and the quiet trust that returning closer to yourself is, in fact, the farthest you can go. Libra, not every shift in life needs a clear marker to be recognized. Some changes happen quietly, like underground currents moving beneath the earth. Only when you stand still long enough do you begin to feel the difference. You don't need a specific reason to know that you're seeing life through different eyes. Not because the world has transformed, but because your inner anchor has shifted, the way you feel, the way you respond, the way you choose what to hold and what to let go. All of it now moves to a different rhythm. When this happens, familiar instinct often urges you to return to an earlier version of yourself, the version that once made everything flow, the version that kept the space around you in harmony. But if what you feel right now tells you that you no longer fit into that shape, there's no need to rush to adjust yourself back into it. Growth doesn't always arrive to the sound of applause. It often shows up in the most ordinary moments. When you stop over-explaining, when you choose rest instead of proving something, when you value calm more than the feeling of being validated. At this stage, you don't need to define a destination. You only need to trust the feeling that's guiding you. That feeling isn't vague. It's shaped by everything you've lived through. The times you gave way, the times you listened, the moments you asked yourself where you truly stand in your own life. If there are moments when you feel caught between two rhythms, no longer fully belonging to what's ahead and not ready to return to what's behind. That doesn't mean you're lost. It simply shows that you're moving into another level of awareness, a space where answers don't arrive as words, but as clarity that slowly takes form. Allow yourself to stay there a little longer. No pressure, no labels. Just watch how things begin to arrange themselves when you don't intervene too soon. You'll notice that when you're no longer rushing, choices feel lighter. When you stop forcing things, your presence becomes more genuine. And when you stop trying to keep everything balanced for everyone, you begin to stand more firmly for yourself. Libra has always understood the value of harmony. Now, you're learning a different kind. Balance that rises from within. You don't need universal agreement. You don't need to please everyone. You only need enough honesty with yourself to know what truly deserves your energy. The message for you right now isn't advice to do more. It's a reminder to do less. Less distraction, less carrying, less living on autopilot. When you live closer to your own rhythm, everything else finds its rightful place. The connections that remain are built on respect. The choices that follow come from clarity that's been carefully refined. And the most beautiful part of this journey is this: you don't need to run. You don't need to catch up to anyone. You don't need to prove that you've arrived. You are exactly where you need to be right now. Deep enough to understand yourself, steady enough to keep moving forward, calm enough to trust that what you need will appear when you allow time to do its work. Keep walking at that rhythm, Libra. No rush, no forcing. Just step by step, guided by an awareness that has been quietly growing from within. If this message resonates with you, let me know what stage of life you're in as a Libra. We don't need to hurry. We just need to be real.